One more scale of
Hey,
choice for today.
very good. So this is a scale that is easy to underestimate. This is a big deal. And let me tell you what I mean by that. The greatest theme among humanity is freedom. That's why we fight wars. Okay, that's why we get divorces. People want to be free. This is a big motivation. Everybody wants to be free. Then let's look at what is freedom. Freedom is the ability to choose. If you can choose, you're free. If you can't choose, you're not free. So, let's say you have a guy, he's in jail. He can't choose to go out for ice cream. He can't choose to go fishing. He can't choose to go to a movie, right? He
Right.
doesn't have freedom, right? So, his choices are very narrow. So, that is what this is about. There are 7 levels of choice. Now, when we're talking about a person who's in jail, obviously that is being inflicted on him by the police, right? But in this scale, the person does it himself. In other words, this is a choice. Person chooses to be at a certain level, and the word choose is choice. You see? Choose means choice. So this is a spiral scale, the first of many. So if you look at level 1, it says no choice. And if you look at 7, it says no choice.
Yeah.
So to that extent, they are congruent. But the difference is at level 1, it's no choice necessary. And at level 7, it's no choice possible. That's very different. So when a person cannot make a choice, he's at level 7. There's no way he can make a choice. And at level 1, he's not making a choice, but it's because the choice is not necessary. So it's a big difference. So let's say an election is going on. Well, election's about choice, right? So you'll say to some guy, for whom are you going to vote in the election? He says, what election? Is there an election going on? Yes, there's an election for mayor. That's election day is 2 days away. He says, oh, I didn't know that. No choice is possible because he's oblivious.
Yeah.
He has no idea there's even an election going on. And then, but even if he did, he doesn't even know who's running. But even if you told him who's running, he doesn't know what they represent. He's oblivious.
Yeah.
So no choice possible is oblivion. He doesn't know anything. Up from that is the group's choice. This is what we call collectivism. Like in the old Soviet Union, they told you where you would live, what job you would have, if you could have a car, what schools your children would go to. And now it's a group's choice because it's done in the name of the people. The people. Yeah. Like in China right now, it's the People's Republic of China. So if you ask, well, why can't I live in that apartment? They say, the people have chosen. You see? It's all the people. The people. It's a group. So that is what collectivism is. Now, there are people who like this, believe it or not. There must be people who like this because there's a lot of it going on in the world. I mean, Cuba has been a collectivist society for 60 years?
Yeah,
So
about that, yeah.
It's the group's choice. You don't get to choose. Like when I was ready to go to college, I got into, and I selected, I'm going to go to this one, right? That's all of us do that in the United States. But if you're in the Soviet Union, or probably even in China, that didn't happen. They said, you're going to go to this school and you're going to study this. Because they'll give people tests. They'll say, this guy tests for this, we're putting him in that. There's no choice.
Yeah.
So that's the group's choice. Now, above that is another's choice. This is not a group, it's another. This is what I call robotism. Did you ever hear the term the general's general?
No, to be honest.
The general's general is the general's wife. So you have
Oh,
this,
okay.
it's a cliche. You have this general, right? He's got 100,000 men under his command.
Mhm.
Every one of them does what he says. He could be out and he sees a private and says, "Private, I want you in the motor pool." That's it. He does what it's okay. So that's he goes home because his wife lives on the post, goes home, and the wife says, "Take off your uniform. We're going to go play cards tonight with the Smiths." He
Mhm.
says, "Yes, dear." Takes off his uniform. He doesn't even discuss it with her. She is his general.
Yeah.
That is what I mean by another's choice. So you see this in bad relationships. Could be the husband is bossy, could be the wife is bossy. But the point is that the person does what he's told. Now think about this. When you are in the military, it is another's choice.
Mhm.
The platoon leader says, "Attention," and they all snap to attention. Now, if the platoon leader didn't feel like doing that, he doesn't say it, there's nothing to respond to, see? But then the company commander says, "Smith, your platoon is going to take this hill at 0600." He says, "Yes, sir." You see, it's another's choice. In the
Yeah.
military, you don't get to decide.
Nope.
Even the general doesn't get to decide because there's people above him. Goes all the way up to the president. So you might say that in the military, because the president in the United States is the commander of chiefs, the only one of them is, I don't know, there's something like 3 million people in the military in the United States. Every one of them is a robot to the person just above him, except for the president. He's the only one because
Yeah.
he's been elected by the whole country and he
Yeah.
gets to this.
He isn't on the top. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you're in the military, that's it. You accept it. If you're
Yep.
not willing to accept commands, you get kicked out or you get court-martialed or you get thrown in the brig or whatever, or sometimes you get beat
Right.
up. Like if there's a guy in the platoon who's causing a lot of trouble, a bunch of other guys will beat him up. Say, "Look, you're screwing everything up for us." And they beat him up. And then he says, "Yes, sir," so that everything goes along well. Because in many groups, including in the military, if one person does something wrong, the whole platoon pays for it. Do you know that?
Yep. Yep.
If there's one guy who's mouthing off, they don't know who it is, so they make the whole platoon march 10 miles. And what that does is the other 28 guys in the platoon know who did it, and they go to him and they say, "You're not doing this anymore, or you're going to have 6 broken bones." And that
Right.
happens. I was in the military. I know that's what goes on. So above that is any choice but one's own. Now, this is a little more complicated. Any choice by one's own is irresponsibility. So this person will not make a choice, but he will let somebody else make it for him. And let me
Mhm.
tell you what I mean. Let's say you have 10 guys and they say, "Let's go out for pizza." Okay, so they go to the pizza parlor and they're deciding what they're going to put on the pizza. Or order a big pizza. First guy says pepperoni. Second guy says pepperoni. Third guy says pepperoni. Comes to the fourth guy. You know what he's going to say? Pepperoni.
Yeah.
Because it's any choice but one's own. He is not going to rock that boat. He is irresponsible. Now, the person at level 3 will say, "Look, I don't want pepperoni. If you guys want pepperoni, that's fine. I'm getting my own pizza. I don't like pepperoni." See, that's level 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
level 4, he just goes along with it.
One's own
So
choice. Yeah.
this goes on in society a lot. This is what we call trendy people. Trendy people. So, for
Yeah.
example,
So their choice is influenced by the big group of people from
yes,
beyond.
yes,
Yeah.
but it's not merely influenced. It's decided.
Mhm.
It's decided. I mean, influence is a subtler thing. This guy is not going to go up against it. So you see, like a guy goes to college, right? Before he went to college, when he was in high school, he was a Republican. He gets to college, everybody's a Democrat. You know what he does? He becomes a Democrat. Any choice but one's own. He's irresponsible. He's not responsible enough to say, look, you guys can be Democrats if you want, but I'm a Republican. He doesn't do that. It's any choice but one's own. Up from that is one's own choice. We finally have gotten to the person who makes his own decision. Now, this person is often thought of as selfish. Now, it's selfish in the sense that it's his own self that chooses it. So in other words, it's literally selfish. It's not somebody else doing it. He's consulting himself. But when people criticize him and they say selfish, they mean it in a critical way. Oh, he's selfish. He has to have his own pizza. It's not good enough for him to eat our pepperoni pizza. See? So it kind of has two meanings, but it's definitely selfish. So this is the guy who makes his own choice. So, they all go to a baseball game. Let's get some beer. The first guy, I'll have a beer. Second guy says, yeah, give me one too. The third guy says, yeah, I'll have a beer too. They get to the fourth guy and says, I don't want a beer. I want a Coca-Cola. It's his own choice. He's not going to be commanded by his friends. Now, sometimes they'll say, why don't you have a beer? Say, look, I don't like beer. I don't drink beer. I don't want it. It's his own choice. This is a very healthy way to be. You are being true to yourself. Up from that is any choice. Any choice. And here comes the word again, aloofness. Any choice is an aloofness. In other words, this guy doesn't care. He's aloof. So if they say, let's go for Chinese food, he says, okay. In other words, he's not going to get into it. He might not even like Chinese food, but he's not going to get into the argument that the guy at level 3 will get into. See, the guy at level 3 will say, look, I don't like Chinese food. They put monosodium glutamate in it. I'm not going there. See, now he's going to have an argument to deal with. The guy at level 2, he's aloof. Okay, you want Chinese food? Fine. So let's say he goes to a wife and says, you want to go out for Italian food tonight? She says, no. I want to go for Thai food. He says, okay. See, he's aloof. He's not getting into it.
Yeah.
And that's a very liberating way to be, because you get along with people well that way. You don't make it an issue, whatever it is. Now, hopefully nobody says, let's shoot heroin, because if you go along with that, you're in a lot of trouble. But why are you hanging out with those people anyway? But this happens all the time with somebody who's a very upscale person, like somebody who meditates, somebody who's very secure with himself. He'll just go along with whatever it is. What do you guys want to do today? Let's go to SeaWorld. Another guy says, no, let's not. We did that last week. Let's go to Disneyland. Okay. What do you want to do? All right, I'll go to Disneyland. See, he's aloof.
Yeah.
Doesn't care. Up from that is no choice necessary. This is a transcendent person. He does not care. It's not merely that he's aloof. He doesn't care. It doesn't matter to him. So this is somebody who, in an election, might not vote at all. See, there's this big furor. Oh, should we vote for Republicans? Should we vote for the Democrats? Everybody's arguing, fighting. He doesn't make a choice. He thinks, look, I'm going to go to heaven and be an angel. Why do I need to worry about it? See? It's a transcendent person.
Yep.
So that's the scale of choice. Now, next to it, it has two things, one of which is different and one of which is not different. Notice it has minus, plus, minus, plus, minus, plus, minus. So we're back to inflow, outflow, inflow, outflow. So when a person is at level 7, no choice possible, that's withdrawn, right? He's withdrawn. That's an inflow. When a person gets the group choice, that's an outflow. You will do what the group tells you to do. So it's an outflow. And the guy outflows into, he says, okay, I'll do it. Up from that, another's choice, that's an inflow. So you see, he's withdrawn. In the case of the husband says, I do not want you to make meatloaf ever again. I don't like it. I don't want to say. The wife says, okay. See, that's another's choice. She's withdrawn. She's not arguing. Maybe she likes meatloaf. Up from that is when you go to any choice but one's own, that's an outflow. This guy is outflowing into the group. The group is saying they want to hear R&B. All right, so fine, we'll listen to R&B. So he's like becoming a part of the group. That's reaching. In other words, his individuality is gone. Up from that one's own choice, that's withdrawal. You're withdrawing from the crowd. You're saying, look, you guys can do whatever you want, but I'm not doing that. See, if you guys want to go to the movies, that's fine. I'm not going to the movies. I'm tired of going. See, I want to watch TV. He's withdrawn from the group. And then up from that, any choice is an outflow. So you're outflowing to whoever is involved in this. So your wife says, let's go for pizza. You say, okay, maybe he doesn't even like pizza. So see, he's like outflowing into the wife. He's becoming the wife. He's reaching her. He's accepting her standard. It's a reach. And no choice necessary. Well, that's a big withdrawal, right? He's withdrawn from, I don't care if there's an election. I don't care who wins the election. There are people like, mostly religious people, like people in ashrams and religious orders. They don't care who wins. That just has nothing to do with them.
Yeah, true.
They're withdrawn. Now, here's the thing. Notice this goes one viewpoint, many viewpoints, one viewpoint, many viewpoints, one viewpoint.
Yep.
So this is a mathematical alternation between one and many, one and many, one and many. So at level 7, there's one viewpoint. And the viewpoint is, I don't give a damn. I don't know what's going on. That's the viewpoint. There's no alternate viewpoint to that. Up from that is group choice. Well, that's many viewpoints, is right? The group has many viewpoints. So it's a reach into many viewpoints. Yep. Then when you get to 5, another's choice, it's one viewpoint. The viewpoint of the person who's telling you. So you say to this guy, look, why don't we go bowling tomorrow? He says, no, I can't do that. My wife doesn't want me to go bowling tomorrow. I have to help her with the garden. That's one viewpoint. It's the wife's viewpoint. If the wife says, we're going to paint the basement, he says, yes, dear. It's her viewpoint, one viewpoint. And up from that is, see, that's what dictators are like. The dictator, Adolf Hitler says, we will do this. And everybody says, see, Kyle. One viewpoint.
Yep.
Up from that is any choice but one's own. Well, that's many viewpoints, isn't it? Because you have to have all these people doing something.
Yeah, all these people,
to decide for you,
Yep.
It's like in recent years, many people are just shaving their heads bald. 30 years ago, that did not go on. So it's like in vogue now to do that. Yeah. So a guy says, well, yeah, everybody's shaving their head. I'm going to shave my head. So up from that is one's own choice. Well, that's one viewpoint. Your viewpoint. See, you don't care if they want to go for ice cream. You don't want to go for ice cream, and you're not going to go. That's your viewpoint. And up from that is many viewpoints, which is any choice. The guy can any choice at all. You want to go for, if the wife says, I want to go for Chinese food, he says, that's fine. If she says, I don't want to go for Chinese food, he says, that's fine. In other words, those are different viewpoints, aren't they? So he will accept any one of those viewpoints. He does not care. He just wants to keep the wife happy. So he's not going to argue with her. If she says, I don't like Italian food, I'm not going, he says, okay, we won't go. See? Any choice. If she said, I want to go for Thai food. He may hate Thai food, but he'll say, okay. Up from that, no choice necessary. This is a transcendent person.
Yeah.
There's one
viewpoint. Obviously, yeah.
The viewpoint is none of this matters. We don't care what these people are doing. Okay. I am going to a higher state of reality. So this is what you find in people who meditate a lot, people who are very spiritual. No choice is necessary. They just don't care. And it's not that they don't care because they're depressed or they're overwhelmed. It's just they have bigger fish to fry. So, there are people, and I told you about a half hour ago, I knew some saints. You could see that these guys were there to do the work of God and then go to heaven. That was it. They had nothing else. They had no ego. They had no wish. They didn't care about money. They had to care about having a wife. Nothing. This was one viewpoint. And the viewpoint is, I'm going to attain nirvana, or whatever it is they call it in their religion. So can you make it bigger again so I can see the last part? Good. Thank you. So what is the axis? What are we measuring? We're measuring freedom and responsibility. Now, you will hear people say, with great freedom comes great responsibility.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So, if you can, when you turn 21 in the United States, you can drink. So it's not illegal. When you're 20, you can't do it. They're saying you cannot be responsible for this. This is a law. So now you're 21 and you have to say, gee, should I drink or not drink?
You can drink, but you have responsibility.
Freedom. Right. So you have to be responsible. You have to be able to say, well, okay, I'll have a beer, but that's it because I have to drive.
Yep.
So at the top of the scale, you have complete freedom and responsibility. The person who is transcendent, why is he transcendent? Because he has complete freedom and responsibility. He doesn't care if you kill him. You can easily see this if you study the saints. They didn't care. Oh, you're going to crucify me? Okay. I'm going to go to heaven. And
Right.
Jesus even said that many times. Okay. So, and at the bottom is no freedom or responsibility. This person is totally irresponsible, so he has no freedom. So think about this. A guy who does not vote because he's oblivious. He has given up his freedom. He does not get to decide who's going to rule over him or who's going to be the mayor. See? No responsibility, no freedom. Also notice that at the top, complete freedom and responsibility is below level 1 because absolutes are unattainable. And no freedom or responsibility is below level 7 because absolutes are attainable. So no human being has complete freedom and responsibility. So you can find somebody who has a lot of freedom and responsibility. A very responsible person has a lot of freedom because he's responsible. And at the bottom, somebody has no freedom or responsibility. Like the guy who says he doesn't take care of himself. What difference does it make if I eat gluten? Somebody says, it's not good for you. You shouldn't eat it. This is, he's not responsible enough to do that. See? So he's losing his freedom because that gluten, he's going to pay for that gluten. It's going to screw up his body. Not necessarily that week, but eventually it will. But a responsible person will say, this is not helpful. I'm not going to eat this. And because of that, 20 years later, he's out running 5 miles a day.
Yeah.
And the not eating the gluten sort of contributed to that. So these two things come and go together. And this is really important because a lot of people don't make this connection. A lot of people don't realize that they have no freedom because they're not being responsible. So in other words, let's say your wife is giving you a hard time, right? In other words, you don't have freedom. She's saying, no, I'm not going to let you go play cards with your friends anymore because you lose money and I want you home to pay attention to me. See, he doesn't have any freedom now. So he must not be taking a lot of responsibility for her.
Right.
Someone who's very responsible will say, okay, honey, I can understand that, but look, I'll tell you what. I'll take you on a nice vacation to Disneyland, and we'll have a lot of fun. And then in exchange, you let me go play cards with my friends. He says, okay. See, it's going to cost him $3,000 to take her to Disneyland for a weekend. But he's assuming responsibility for her, and because of that, he now has freedom. So this is really useful in relationships. You have to keep this in mind all the time,
Yeah.
that if you want to have freedom, you have to be responsible. So a guy who goes out, he takes 6 drinks in a bar, he gets behind the wheel of a car, he gets pulled over by the cop, and he gets arrested. He ends up in jail for drunk driving. Now they take away his license for drunk driving. They suspend his license, right? He lost his freedom because he failed to be responsible. The guy who says, look, I'm not getting behind the wheel of that car. He calls an Uber. The next day, he's sober, and he goes and gets his car. See, that's being responsible. So he is still free to drive.
Yeah.
So this is really important to use to help other people and to help yourself.
Okay, yeah, everything is clear. Makes sense. Okay, Jim, I guess we can go to the next scale next time
Yes.
in a week.
Yes.
And that's it for this episode. And next time we'll start from the scale of yes. So today we are done three scales. Yeah.
That will be an eye opener for a lot of people, because a lot of people don't know what permeation is. And how to use it, and it's really powerful. So
yeah,
you should tune in for that and find out about it.
Yep, for sure. Okay.
Thanks, Vadim.
Yeah, thank you, Jim, for such an interesting journey through the scales of Septemics, your book, and we'll record next episode in a week.